Welcome to Newly Invested, the podcast that's all about the real, sometimes raw journey of real estate investing. I'm your host, Judith Tait, bringing you conversations from the trenches of the investment landscape where we celebrate victories, learn from setbacks, and unlock the secrets to successful property investing. Whether you're a novice investor seeking tips and guidance or a seasoned pro eager to share your story, you've come to the right place. Let's get started and delve into the exciting world of real estate investing. Hey everyone, it's Judith Tait, host of Newly Invested, the podcast that's all about the real and sometimes a raw journey of real estate investing. I'm so excited to have Gary Hibbert as my guest today. Welcome, Gary.
Well, thank you very much for having me here, Judy. I'm excited to do this with you.
I'm so excited for you to be here because you've just got such an extensive amount of experience in real estate. So I'm just going to tell our audience how awesome you are. So Gary is a full-time real estate investor, real estate agent, author, and mentor. In 2008, Gary made the life-changing decision to purchase his first investment property. Through hard work and dedication, Gary left the corporate world to become a full-time entrepreneur in 2014. Gary's the founder of Smart Home Choice, a real estate education company. He's also the owner of a private investment company called Deep Pockets. And most recently has joined in a partnership of a real estate brokerage, Our Neighborhood Realty. Gary attributes his success to his focus on improving his mindset rather than only improving his skill set, and most importantly, discovering his why. Now, Gary, you've got a great quote here, which I really love. And the quote is, "Being able to design a lifestyle of your choice is not an easy feat. However, it's attainable as long as you have passion and know what your why is." That's beautiful. So welcome, and tell us, what's your why for doing real estate?
Oh gosh, you're gonna put me in a spot right away. My why. Well, first off, thank you very much for that amazing introduction. I appreciate that. Number two, when you said I've got lots of experience, that just means I've failed a lot. I've tried a lot of different things. That's what experience really is. And I always say that I think people who go through a lot of hard times in life should always be the ones up front in class teaching the things not to do. So I've made lots of mistakes along the way. But you always want to make sure you have more success is higher than the mistakes that you're making, and you learn from it. Then to answer your question, what is my why? I think my why is it's family and friends. I think that's always what it really kind of boils down to when you to enjoy life, right? I mean, I think people get caught up and mixed up with the return on investment. That's one of the things that you're always kind of focusing on in the beginning. And I think first you're looking for financial freedom. And then once you get that financial freedom, then you're looking for time freedom. And that time freedom allows you to spend time with the people that you want to spend time with. And so my why is my family and my friends, and working hard and playing hard. I think you need to always be able to be growing, but also taking that break to smell the flowers.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love it. Especially about, you're just spending that time with family and friends. That's really, really important. And I find that, well, not just in real estate, but in life in general, or in any career, like you can get really caught up in your career and get so focused and forget about what's really important. So good for you.
Yeah, you get caught up in that hamster wheel. Like you quit your full-time job, which a lot of people sometimes want to do if they're not liking their job anymore. And then they build this other business, and all of a sudden now that business now is not a 9 to 5. It's now like a 9 to 9. And so you got to be careful of that.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point, because there's this misconception that, if you leave your employer, you're going to own your own business and be your own boss and have more time freedom. And time freedom? No. Especially when you're just starting out a business, like you're working even longer and harder. But what's good about it is that at the end of the day, you're working for yourself. You're building something for yourself and for your family, for your friends, and, just creating your life the way you want it to be.
100%. And I think a really good thing for people that are listening is to take a look at that Robert Kiyosaki, that 4 quadrants, right? Which is the ESBI, which is, a lot of the time we start off in the employee box. And then you may start to invest your money because you're when you're in that employee box, you're trading time for money. The investor
Yeah.
box is, now you're actually leveraging an asset or putting it into some type of a stock or something that's going to make you money while you're sleeping. And then you move into that self-employment box if you have the courage to actually leave your full-time job. But then that's when that 9 to 9 might pop in, or even 9 to 12 or whatever it may be, right? And then
Yeah.
really what you want to do is start getting into that B box, which is the business, and when you start to actually leverage other people's time. And that
Yes.
takes time to get there, but that's kind of the path if you're going down that road or to try to work towards that goal.
And how long would you say approximately? Like I know it's going to be different for everyone, but approximately how long would you say that is?
I would say for me, anyways, it took probably about maybe 3 years to really kind of slowly start to build it and realize that um, I can't do this all on my own. Because in the beginning, you have to
Yeah.
wear multiple hats. You
Yeah.
have to be the tech. You have to
Yeah.
be the sales. You have to
Yeah.
be like all of the different roles in your business, bookkeeper, accountant, kind of in the beginning, and then you start to realize I need to focus just what's I'm good at in my skill set, and then farm it out to the people that are more skilled in those particular areas.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Mhm.
So you started real estate investing back in 2008 during the recession.
Yes.
Tell us what that was like.
Uh, it was, you know what? You would think that it was scary, but it wasn't scary. The reason why it wasn't scary for me was because it has to go along with the story, which I think is important, is that when I was working at TD Bank, I was trying to get out of there, but I didn't really know how to do it. I remember asking people like, okay, how do we get out of here? Do we got to start a business? Do we got to start and and that happens over time. And then I remember saying one time to one of my coworkers, like, man, I can't wait until I retire. And I'm like, what a horrible thing to say. Like, I can't wait till I'm 65 years old. Like, I'm gonna wish away like 30 years of my life. And I'm like, okay,
Wow.
that's horrible to say. So then why am I on this particular path? And what I realized is I'd forgotten all my dreams and my goals and aspirations like when I was in my early 20s, because you get caught up in you buy a home and you have kids and you just got to put food on the table. And so
Yeah.
then I started listening to people that were where I wanted to be: Jim Rohn, Les Brown, Zig Ziglar, a lot of these big names. And then I started hanging out in the right rooms. And by doing that, that allowed me to educate myself. But
Mhm.
jumping into it, though, initially in that first property, was that I felt that my back was against the wall. And when you get to this point in your life where you feel hopeless, then it's
Mhm.
easier to make decisions to get you out of the place that you're at. And that's kind of where I
Yeah.
felt where I was in 2008. So it was like, for me, it was just like, well, I don't have any other choice. I can't see myself at this job for the next 30 years. I have to do something that's going to make a big impactful change in my life. And real estate seemed to be the one thing that was outpacing inflation, because I knew that I couldn't outpace inflation even at 2%.
Yeah, for sure. So what was because you mentioned your first property. What was
Yeah.
that experience like? Just getting that first property and managing that?
Yeah, getting that first property it actually almost kind of fell in my lap a little bit. But I remember telling my friends that, like, I want to get into real estate investing. I want to get into real estate investing. And a friend of mine came up to me and goes, "Are you serious?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, my dad's going through a situation right now. He's going through a divorce and he really loves his home. And he's hoping that maybe you can buy it."
Hmm.
And it had a separate entrance. And he's like, "Would you do that?" I'm like, "Yeah." I didn't even know if I can go get approved. I didn't know anything about all that stuff because I already owned a home. I'm like, I wonder if I can even get approved for a second property, because I didn't know how it all worked. And I went into
Yeah.
the bank and they approved me. The home was 200,000. And
Wow.
yeah, it was in Oshawa. It was 200,000, it wasn't a legal 2 unit. But I did eventually convert it into a legal 2 unit a few years later. And that was my first venture into it. And I didn't have the down payment or enough to purchase this property. And so I went back to my friend. I said, "Hey, listen, why don't we do a joint venture?" And so we wrote on a piece of paper, a single piece of paper, a joint venture agreement. And it was really just more of a handshake more than anything else. We signed it or whatever. And so we put equal amount of money into the property and we owned it together for, I don't know, maybe it was 7 years or so, something like that. But that
Okay.
was my first step into real estate investing.
Wow. Talk about resourceful. So, how did you know to create a joint venture, or did you know that's what it was called at the time?
No, I didn't know that what it was called at the time. I just knew that, we're going to a partnership. So it was more along the lines of right, like, hey, whatever profits we make, we'll share it. And whatever losses if we do get any losses, that we'll share the losses as well, too. It was just as simple as that. It really was. It was like
Yeah.
a paragraph long, and that was it.
Did you have it looked over by a lawyer?
No,
No.
no, we just
Now,
wrote
would you
it.
suggest anyone do that today?
No, I wouldn't suggest anybody do that today. I would definitely
I
suggest
know.
that you have a lawyer look it over. But you know what? Here's a good point: is that um, well, looking back at that story, is that you should be
Yeah.
partnering with people not just based on the money that they have, but
Yeah.
also the partnership. Because doing a joint venture is a marriage, and so when
Hmm.
you're getting into it, think of it as just as equally as um, we'll say profound or as important as getting married. So you
Yeah.
wouldn't just go and marry anybody. So you should
Uh-huh.
definitely do your due diligence before you partner with somebody. And so for me, that was the important thing. I'll tell you one other story real quick. It was that even I did a partnership up in Barrie with an investor. To me, driving up to Barrie with that partner before we bought that first investment property was way more important to me, the relationship. And then we decided to partner because, and I can go through all the different things that you want to ask your joint venture partner. But to me, the partnership is more important than the asset.
Yeah, for sure. And what kind of things would you look for in a joint venture partner?
Well, who is going to, you can only have one cook in the kitchen.
Okay.
So you want to find out who is the one who's going to be kind of making the final decisions.
Hmm.
Um, Someone who's going to be doing the bookkeeping. Um, you want to have your five whys, like why now, why this market, why this strategy, why this deal, and why this location. Did I get all the five whys? I think so.
I don't know. I'm learning from you.
But you want to know the different whys and then what their whys
Yeah.
are as well too. And so do they align and do they match up?
Oh, okay. That's good. I
Yeah.
like it. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch this and then write that down because that was
Okay.
really good.
All right.
Okay, so speaking of like location and the asset, how did you determine what you wanted to focus on? Because when I started in real estate investing, I wanted to do everything. I wanted to do private lending, I wanted to do multifamily properties, I wanted to do student rentals, which is what I'm doing now. But it took me almost a year to really focus and decide on what I wanted to do. And I didn't realize it was going to be that hard.
Hmm. And so
Yeah.
like how do you determine what's the right strategy with the right
Yeah.
location? Yeah, so
Yeah.
one of the things that I would say in the beginning, if you're trying to figure out the right strategy, is watch as much YouTube videos as you can, join as many webinars as you can, go to as many events as you can, because all of these different things that you're going to watch and attend, there's going to be so many different strategies there. Then there
Yeah.
should be one that you piques your interest. We're like, okay, you know what? This one seems really interesting. And then once you find that strategy, and I've seen over the years that sometimes it can take longer, but it should take you about 3 to 4 months. Once you find that
Mm.
strategy, you do not look at any other strategies because then what you need to do over the course of the next 3 to 5 years is then become a master at that strategy. And so if there's
Okay.
an event that is talking about another strategy, don't go to it. Don't worry about it. Leave it alone. When you hit
Mhm.
that 3 year mark, 4 year mark, then you can start taking a look at your next strategy. And so you're almost kind of doing like a 1 to maybe 1.5 year overlap of your next strategy. And that's pretty much what
Mhm.
I've done throughout my investment career. Like the very first thing I did was um, 2 unit conversions, terrible at it. So I stopped the first year. And then I went into rent to own, did rent to own for 5 years. I mastered it. I wrote a book. I probably did about 100 rent to own deals. Then I went
Wow.
into back into the 2 unit strategy. I did that for about 4 or 5 years, taught other people while I was teaching myself. And then I moved into private investing. And so that's what you want to do, is don't get caught up in like flipping and rent to own and 2 unit conversions in different locations. Pick a location, master it, and then you can move out a little bit further. Like I started in Whitby, then I went to Oshawa, Curtis, Bowmanville, Peterborough. And that's kind of really been my investing careers in those areas. Anytime I've moved out of it, I got lucky or I didn't do well.
Oh, okay. All
Right.
right. No,
And
that's
again, that's just my investing career. So that's my advice for somebody that's new.
yeah. No, that's really good advice because as I said, like it's really, really tricky to, when you're new, just to kind of narrow in on what you want to do because everything looks exciting.
Yeah.
And I mean, someone like me, I can get that shiny object syndrome and I just want to do this. I want to do that. I want to do this. I want to do that. And it's just like, oh my goodness, just you just got to buckle down and focus. Otherwise, I know you could waste a lot of time and money.
Yeah, because then once you do that, because here's the one thing with real estate investing is you will always run out of money, always, no
Yeah.
matter what strategy. And so that if you pick a strategy and you master it, well, then now you can get good at raising the money for that strategy because then you can prove to an investor, this is what I do. This is what I strategize on. This is the location that I'm an expert in. This is the almost like the neighborhood, location, city, and this is it. And they're like, oh, wow,
Yeah.
you really know your stuff. But if you're like, oh, I got a property in Barrie and I got one in Kitchener and I got one, I'm like, well, okay, you're all over the place.
Yeah.
Because and also
Exactly.
too, then you want a core team. I want contractors, I need painters and plumbers and electricians and property managers, and all that takes time to build. And then you got homes in 8 different locations. It's difficult.
What due diligence steps do you consider when buying a property?
Yeah, good question. So there's 3 things that I'm always kind of taking a look at. There's more than that actually, but if I'm looking at the house itself, I'm looking at the
Mhm.
roof, the windows, the furnace, the kind of those are the big 3 ticket items that you want to kind of pay attention to. Flooring, walls, all those things can be changed, altered, depending on the condition. But those are the 3 big things. Then I'm also looking at location. I want to see, is the population going up?
Mm.
I will also want to see are jobs being created, and so is income increasing. Then I want to see what type of jobs are in that area. So eds and meds, so education. Do they have schools there,
Yeah.
hospitals, and what other industries do they have in that particular location? And then I also want to take a look at infrastructure. What are they building in regards to roads? Is there a new highway coming in? Like for Peterborough, like we moved up there in 2017, and the 407, if you remember, wasn't completed yet, but
Mhm.
they were on the way of doing it. And so for me, that was another huge artery moving into a location that would allow the easier flow of traffic to get up there. It's like almost getting like another artery built for your heart. And so I'm
Yeah.
looking at those type of things before I purchase in a particular location.
Oh, okay. That makes that makes perfect sense. Looking at those are things that a lot of people don't consider, like, the jobs coming into the area and, what's around population. Um, do you know or have you ever just bought a place like on a whim, just thought, oh, this just seems like a good spot,
Yeah.
and then it worked out? Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay.
I
Tell us
did that
about
in
that.
Barrie. I did that in Barrie.
Yeah.
Now it wasn't so much on a whim, but I used to be part of Rain and Don Campbell back in the days, and he
Oh,
used to
okay.
come out and do his market analysis all the areas, and so the market analysis showing that Barrie was a great location, and so we went up there and we bought a property. Um,
Uh-huh.
Looking back at it, did I get lucky a bit? Yes. We bought in a good neighborhood, but when I went up there, I was also the real estate agent, and I really didn't know Barrie. I could have picked a bad area. I could have picked
Hmm.
maybe an area where the rents weren't going to work in that particular location. Maybe I overcasted. So, you got to be an expert in that area. So I did get lucky in
Yeah.
Barrie. I also got lucky in Kitchener, but I also think as well too, what saved me was the fact that that market analysis in those areas, learning
Yeah.
from somebody who was like an industry expert, which allowed those homes to appreciate and do well from a return on investment standpoint.
Wow, that's really good. See, I would be, because I'm new, right? Like to investing, I'd be very hesitant just to invest on a whim.
Mhm.
Um, it, so for someone who's new, what what would your advice be to them when they're looking at properties, like as in, like if they hear of a property coming up in a location that they don't know, like what are
Mhm.
the steps? Because a lot of people, they invest at a distance, like they invest in, Canadians invest in the States, or Ontarians invest in, say, New Brunswick. What would be your words of advice to invest in a property that you don't know anything about, the location or the area,
Yeah,
you
great
know?
question. It's a really good question.
Yeah.
The advice that I would give your listeners is number one, work with a real estate agent who
Mhm.
understands that market.
Okay.
Number two, how long have they been a real estate agent? And number three, which is
Oh,
probably the
good.
most important, is how many investment properties have they owned, have they purchased? Because a lot of real estate agents will say, "Oh yeah, no, I can help you with an investment property." Oh, awesome. How many properties do you own? Oh, I don't invest in real estate. Okay, well then now, have you talked to the city? Do you understand the bylaws? Do you understand the height in the basement? How wide the driveway has to be? There's a lot of moving pieces. Can you convert this property into a 2 unit? Is it close to a floodplain? Right.
Huh.
And so so that agent who's experienced can ask you those questions. And if you don't know, then hey, boom, okay, I got a good realtor who's going to protect me to be able to purchase a property that I'm looking for based on the strategy that I'm looking at, and guide me. Because
Yeah.
I've seen it many times where somebody will buy a property, it's in the wrong location, they can't convert it, the driveway is not wide enough, the city doesn't
Yeah.
allow it, and now all of a sudden you just bought a large asset. This is not like you're not just going to Toys R Us buying a toy. This is a serious game that you're playing. And so then you
Yeah.
want to work with serious people who understand the game that you're trying to get into
Yeah, for sure. Okay. That makes sense. That's good advice. Have you ever faced any major challenges when purchasing a property?
all the time.
Oh, yeah.
That's,
Okay.
yeah, that's my whole
What's
life.
okay?
And especially not even just for myself, but also with my clients. We've bought
Okay.
hundreds of properties from 2010 until today. And so
Yeah.
I've seen all the things that could happen of not having enough down payment or foundation issues, roofing, mold in attics. Um, you know, it's not in the right location. There's so many different things that I've seen over the years, a wrong clause put in there, how to protect your
Mhm.
clients.
Uh-huh.
I mean, if we have like 2 hours, I can go through almost all of them.
Oh my
But
goodness.
I've seen a lot, and so then that is who you want on your team is somebody who's
Yeah.
gone through those mistakes and problems and issues to know how to navigate them. And so then, I've seen a lot, and now for me, what I love doing is also now mentoring my agents and my team to go through those challenges and working
Yeah.
through it. And then also it gives the clients that warm, fuzzy feeling that they've got a team that can look after them.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
You're really good at that. Like you're a good mentor. You're also really good at mindset. So, how does mastering your mindset help you, and how do you use that to inspire your team?
Yeah, great question. To me, I think mindset is 80%, 20% is probably skill set. I might even say 15% skill set and 5% might be the right rooms that you're in as well too, and the networking, right? But the
Yeah.
reason why mindset is so important is that we're all impacted by two things, the outside world and the inside world. And the outside world, you can't do much. There are things that you can do to influence it a bit, but whoever is going to become the president or whoever's going to become the prime minister, what can you do to change that? Except, okay, fine, you can vote, but that's one cast. So maybe you can do a little bit of influence. But what you have full control over is what you believe in your mind, the things that you feed it, and that is what you should be focusing on because no matter what's happening in the economy, your economy can be completely different if you decide to choose to, and a lot of times people say, well, it's too expensive. And really the question is, well, you just don't make enough. And so then
Yeah.
now if you dig deeper in, well, how do you make more money or how can you increase your chances of winning. And that's mindset. That's believing in yourself. That's surrounding yourself with the right people. That's all mindset, And anytime
Yeah.
I start to shift, it's because of a mindset. And I'm like, oh, well, why am I watching that? Why am I paying attention to that? Why am I getting pulled over there? Go back into the mindset. Yeah, real estate agents aren't doing great in this economy, but I've changed and I said, okay, I'm just going to shift and I'm going to do what I need to do to win. That's it.
Yeah. So that's all really good advice. You mentioned, if someone says, "Oh, that's too expensive," and your perspective is, "No, you just don't make enough." That's actually really, really good. That's a great way to flip it. How, if someone feels that they don't make enough, and not just in real estate, but just in business in general, because you're a really good businessman as well, how do you suggest that people go out there and make more money, or what do they have to do within themselves to be that person who can make more money?
Yeah, turn off the TV.
I love it. That is so
Is
true.
right. Turn off the TV. Look, when I was at TD Bank and when I started Smart Home Choice, I would get home and I would work on Smart Home Choice until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, go to bed. I'd wake up at 6 and I would go back to work. And I did that for like 4 years. I knew nothing what was going on TV. I knew nothing about the
Yeah.
shows. I would go into work and they're like, oh, you watching this new show? Oh, you want? No, I did it because I was too busy building my dream. I was
Yeah.
too busy building my escape out of the 9 to 5. I didn't have time
Mm,
for all that. Yeah, now I'll watch Game of Thrones because now I got a little more time. But when you are building your dream, you don't have time to watch TV. You don't.
I like it. That is so true. It's
Yeah.
all about it's all about being hungry.
Yes.
You have to be hungry enough, and you have to really, really want it, and you have to do the work to get there. I really believe that when people aren't getting the results that they want, a lot of it's not because they're not capable, they're just not willing. They know what they have to do, but they're not willing to put in the work, because it's a lot of work, right?
100%. Yeah, a lot
Yeah.
of work. Here's what it is too, is that when I see somebody and it's not working out for them, listen, they'll say, like, how do I stay motivated? Well,
Mm,
a lot of times people just have this spark. And what happens if a wind comes along? Hard times come along, blows that spark away. You have to have a fire. And if you have a
yes.
fire and that wind comes along, or that, hard time comes into your life or into your business, what does that wind do to a fire when you're at a campground? It ignites it even more, because then it makes you
Hmm.
even more resilient to saying, I am going to do this because my why is so strong. And so as long as you have a strong enough why, um, then the how is none of your business.
Yes, that's right.
It's just none of your business.
And
And so if you take a look behind me, that's my whiteboard there. Actually, we just
yeah.
completed it 2 days ago, because we do it at the beginning of the year, and then we take a picture, we check everything off, and then we do a mid-course correction. And then now this will be the second half of the year to see what we
Okay.
completed. And so then now, why that's so important is that it allows me to say no, especially with everything that I'm doing now. A lot of people will hit me up and ask me to do this or certain things. And I'm like, nope, not on my whiteboard. Nope, nope. So it's easier to say
Oh,
no. So I can say
yes.
no because I'm like, no, it's not getting me closer to my goals.
I love it. Yes, you have to be so super focused on your goals, and everything else is just a distraction
It's
and
all
noise.
noise. It's all noise.
And
It's all distraction. Even emails, all distractions, all noise.
yeah,
Those are things that people want you to do for them. Now, I'm not saying
yeah,
I can get back to emails, but I don't live in it.
yeah. Oh, good for you. Well, I definitely appreciate you taking the time out to do this today, because I know you're a very busy guy.
I enjoy
So
doing
thank
this.
you. Yes.
I enjoy
Oh,
doing this.
you're awesome. You mentioned a few people that you like to listen to and follow, like you mentioned Jim Rohn. I love listening to him. What about books? What kind of books would you suggest that people read?
Um,
Or
I think,
what books do you
yeah, I think
like?
for a good, like, to get basics, if you're trying to get into real estate investing, I think Rich Dad Poor Dad is always a good one. Another
Yes.
really good one is Money People Deal. A good friend of mine, Stefan Arnio, because once you
Oh,
understand the art of raising money, then you'll never have to worry about money again. If you understand the concept and the negotiation, that one really changed my life a
oh,
lot.
okay.
Yeah, highly, highly recommend. I've read it like twice. And it's part of even like my mentorship program when I'm teaching people. That's an important one.
Okay.
I love I'm going to pronounce his last name wrong. Eckhart Tolle. Is that what it is? Eckhart
Yeah, yeah,
Tolle?
yeah,
Yeah. I can't remember what the book is called. The Awakening or A New Earth. I think maybe it's A New Earth. That is
yeah.
so
There's
good because that is a mindset thing as well too, where it allows you to kind of be still and really pay attention to um, what life is all about. So I like that as well.
yeah,
It's not only just about skill sets, it's not only just about finances, but it's also
uh-huh,
about also being calm as well too, and stopping and slowing things down and taking that break. And like I love taking my summer hiatus and my winter hiatus because it allows me to really
yeah.
take dial back in. And I think you just recently came back from one, and you know how important that is.
Oh
Uh,
yeah,
because it allows you to just do a reset and like, am I moving in the right direction? Do I
yeah.
love real estate investing? I'll let you in a little secret. I don't like real estate investing. I like what it does for me, but I don't wake up and like, oh man, I can't wait to buy another property that has roofs and shingles and 2x4s. And oh man, I love being a landlord. I love it. I love dealing with tenants. No. Who? Tell me who loves
Really?
that. No, no. I love what it does for me. If like at the beginning, what I talked about is that yeah, return on investment is important, but return on time, that's what I why I
Yeah.
do it. It's I don't nobody wakes up and says I want to be a landlord.
No.
No, no, that's not your goal in life. You're like when you're a kid, you're like,
Uh,
Mom, I want to be a landlord. No, you don't. You don't. You don't want to be a landlord. If you really look deep inside yourself, you don't want to be a landlord.
yeah,
No, you're
that's too
looking for
funny.
building wealth. That's what you're
Yes.
looking for. You're looking to buy back your time so that you can
Yeah.
travel and go to Europe and land a beach and hang out with friends and family and do a cruise and experience life. You don't want
Yeah.
a bunch of homes
Okay.
except for the wealth building part of it. That's what you want.
Yeah. Yeah, true. That's what's at the root of the
Yeah,
why.
right,
Yes, for sure.
right.
Okay, that's actually really funny. Was there a point where you actually really loved real estate and now you're just tired of it?
When I got to at one point in time, I owned about 19 properties, and then I realized it was
Oh,
more of an ego thing. It was more like, oh, look how
mm,
many doors I got, and then I was like, okay, hold on a second. Well, how many more doors do I really need, and why do I need them? What
yes.
if I get to 100 doors? What does that do for me?
Yeah.
Okay, so then now I got to be more purposeful. What is it that I'm looking for?
Yeah.
Okay, and maybe it's look, I'm looking for cash flow. Okay, so I'm looking, that's what I'm really looking for. And then okay, so if I'm looking for cash flow and I get the cash flow that I want, then what is it I really want? Okay, well, I want to give back and help other people. Okay, cool. And then what and then when you start really peeling it back, you start to realize the why you're doing it because you look at a lot of billionaires and why are they so unhappy?
Yeah. True.
Okay, so then it's
Very
not
true.
more money. So then you gotta really take a step back and you know what's and I'm glad that you're doing this podcast because that's what's allowed me to realize what's important by interviewing people who have laid an incredible path ahead of me to ask them some
Hmm.
very deep questions of why they're
Yeah.
doing what they're doing and what was the biggest mistake. And if you could go back in time, what would you change?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great question. If
Yeah.
you could go back in time, or what's the biggest mistake you made in real estate investing? And if you could go back in time, what would you change? I love that.
Yeah. If I was to go back in time, I wouldn't change anything.
Mhm.
I think I made the mistakes when I was
Good.
supposed to make the mistakes. I was supposed to fall down when I was supposed to fall down. So I don't think I would change anything. The only thing maybe I would have changed would have maybe leaving my full-time job sooner, and wishing maybe I believed in myself sooner. You know,
Really?
yeah. Yeah. And,
Wow.
and that's still a challenge too. There's times when I still slip. There's still times when I'm like, do I want to post that video? Oh, that's horrible. Oh my God, what do I sound like that? So we still have those fears. We still have those
Yeah.
flaws in us. I'm human, like
Yeah.
anybody else. Um, but I do catch myself. I'm like, okay, well, why am I thinking like that? And so that's the only thing I would say is that I wish I'd woken up a little earlier, but I think it all happened at the right time when it was supposed to happen.
Yeah. I always say that you were always exactly where you're supposed to be,
Yeah.
so and I just say that to myself just to remind myself, like, don't stress, like, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't stress about how you didn't do this or you didn't do that, or shoulda, coulda, woulda. Just like, you're exactly where you need to be for a reason,
Yeah.
right? And yeah, it's so important to learn from your past mistakes.
100%. Yeah. As long as you're learning
Excellent.
from it. Yeah. As long as you're learning
Yes.
from it.
Yeah, and not making the same mistake over and over and over again. That can be a problem.
Yeah. 100%.
All right, so now we're going to move on to the lightning round questions. I'm just going to ask some questions just about you, just to find out more about you, just fun ones. You
All right.
ready?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, what daily habit do you have that has allowed you to become the best version of you?
Um, Micro workouts in the morning.
Oh, what does
Yeah.
that look like?
So what that looks like is more of a mental thing. It's like, okay, I will do one push-up. And then
Oh,
once you
okay.
hit the ground and you're like, well, I'm down here, so I might as well just do 20.
That's a big jump, but okay.
But you just have to get into that.
Yeah,
Let me just do that one push-up. That
yeah, true.
and also yoga. Yoga, I love yoga.
Oh,
Yeah. And so trying to do that hard thing in the morning, at
yes.
least 3 to 4 times a week. Things that because then now once I do one hard thing, I'm like, okay, cool. So at least I got one hard thing out of the way, something that made me sweat, something that pushed me people think yoga is easy, man. It's difficult. It's not
Oh,
easy.
yeah.
It's not the one I go
It's,
to, the hot yoga. Oh man, it's
oh,
yeah, and
yeah.
it's 7 in the morning, so I got to get up at like 6 o'clock. I got to jump in my car, even in the wintertime. I got to heat it up. I got to go, and
Yeah.
so that I would say is something that has helped me because it gets me in a good mindset.
Okay, good.
Mhm.
Yes, I really believe that yoga, it's so good for you. I remember as a kid watching my mom do yoga. I thought that was the most ridiculous thing. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
But I do it a lot now. And I recently started that the 75 hard program.
Oh wow,
You've probably,
awesome.
yeah, I'm actually on go three because if you don't do all the things that you're supposed to do by the end of the day, you have to start at day one, right? So I
Yes.
had a couple of travel days in there where I just couldn't get it all done, but I'm loving it because it's helping me to really focus and really structure everything and just movement. And I'm realizing that the workouts, like the 2 45-minute workouts a day, they don't have to be intense, crazy, throwing weights around workouts. Like
Mm.
I've been doing so much yoga, and what's so helpful with yoga that it really tells you what parts of your body need attention.
Yes.
So I notice it's like, okay, well, that's a little weaker than I thought it was. So next time I go to the gym, I'm going to work on that muscle.
Yeah.
It's
100%.
so good for you. And
It
just
is.
mentally, like it's amazing. So good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And then once you feel good that way, then it releases endorphins and all other great chemicals in your body that allow you to have the right mindset and to push forward for that day.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
All right. If you could master any skill, what would it be and how would you use it?
Um, Communication
Oh,
and continually to share my story.
yeah.
Yeah, because then
Oh, okay.
if even if I was to speak in front of 1,000 people and I only impacted one, then that's
Yeah.
I think a goal one, an achievement one. That's all.
Yeah.
Is to be in somebody's testimonial, is saying thank you for that talk, thank you for sharing that story because it changed my life.
Oh, that's nice. I love
Yeah.
that. What's one belief that you once held strongly but have since changed your mind?
Um, I would say that I, the relationship that I had with money when I didn't have it. And then
Mm,
I realized, like, here's a great quote, that I heard from Jim Rohn, like, make the goal to become a millionaire, not for the money, but for the person you'll become to achieve it. And then when I
yes.
achieved it, I was like, it's not about the money. It's all about the person that you become. When
Yeah.
you don't understand it, when you don't have it, you're like, well, yeah, it'd be easy for you to say because you have it. But no, but when you do get it, you're like, it's not about the money. If you really understand the lesson that you learn, because the person that I am now compared to the person that I was before, they're completely different people. That
Yeah.
person couldn't achieve what I've achieved unless he went through all the transformation. And that's the journey. And so that's what people I think miss is that it's not the destination, it's always the journey.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I love it. All right. So one thing that you have to offer the audience is a free home equity report. And of course, I'll attach that in the show notes. But can you just tell us, just give us a brief overview of what this is?
Yeah, so the home equity report, a lot of times people will look at their stocks and they want to see that monthly report or even they
Yeah.
look at it like every single day. But nobody really kind of takes a look at what their home is doing on a monthly basis. So this monthly report,
Hmm.
what it does, if you're an investor or even if you only have one home, every single month, you will get a report and it just shows you the value of your home, how much it's gone up over the lifetime that you've owned it and the change on a month to month basis. And so it just gives you a nice quick snapshot of your portfolio and allows you to make, decisions of, hey, maybe we should buy another property, or maybe it's time to pull some equity out and do whatever it is that you want to do with that equity, right? Whether it's take a vacation, which I don't recommend. I recommend you buy another
Yeah.
asset.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And a cash flowing producing asset as well, too.
Yeah, exactly. Great. Love it. Where can everyone find you?
Oh, they can find me on social media, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. They can also go to smarthomechoice.ca or just Google. They're pretty easy to find.
Great. Thank you so much, Gary. It was great having you on the show.
Thanks for
Really,
having
really
me.
loved it.
Thank you so
Yes.
much. I appreciate it. Great show and great
Yes.
questions. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And thanks to everyone for watching. And we'll see you next time on another episode of Newly Invested. Happy investing. Bye. And that brings us to the end of another enlightening episode of Newly Invested. A huge thank you to our guest and to all of you for tuning in. Remember that investing in real estate is a journey filled with highs and lows, but the key is to keep learning, keep investing, and keep growing. If you want to stay updated with our latest episodes, don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you enjoyed today's episode, we'd appreciate it if you could leave us a review. This is your host, Judith Tait, signing off, and we'll see you next time on another episode of Newly Invested. Happy investing! The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the podcast. The information shared in the podcast is for general informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, financial, or professional advice.